go live on Facebook or YouTube. Fixing it now. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Shanice Gatewood Ali. I am the CEO and founder of We Are Phenomenal Women. We Are Phenomenal Women is a nonprofit organization that want to educate our women and men on domestic violence. We also speak on bullying with our youth because bullying is the baby of domestic violence. So how do we go about preventing it? By having classes, by having discussions as this one. This one is called Living Behind the Mask. Our first purple round table. And I would like to thank our queen for coming on this evening to share her story on emotional and mental abuse. Good evening, Queen. How are you?
Good evening, my queen. I am doing good, thank God. I am doing good.
Amen to that. So I'm so grateful that you was able to get on with us really quickly, and not even quickly. I called you last night, and
Yes.
you say yes, I am willing to do it. So yes. I see that you have on your mask.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
we want to get into why are you wearing your mask this evening, besides the fact that it's living behind the mask. So it's a method to it. So I just want you to basically introduce yourself, please.
Okay. My name is Dr. Aminata Njeri Gill. I am the pastor, along with my husband, of Kanami Ministries in Staten Island, New York. I'm the executive vice president of the Bryant Educational Leadership Group. And I am the founder of Leadershipology, which we train young people to be leaders. So that's who I am. Yes.
Beautiful. And how long you been doing that?
Wow. I'm going on, I believe, my 29th year of training young people to be leaders. I've been doing this for quite a while. A friend of mine on Facebook tagged me today, said he found a video of me doing training all the way back in the 90s.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, congratulations to you and your husband for doing the great work that you're doing with our youth.
Thank you.
A lot of our youth need to understand they are leaders.
Yes.
They are leaders.
Absolutely.
And as well as, adults, we all need to know that we are leaders. So
right.
I would like you to, have you gone through domestic violence?
That was my entire history, to be honest with you. Let me just start back to, I'm the oldest of 9 children. My mom was a victim of domestic violence. I used to witness my father as he would beat up on my mother, as oh, God, I have memories where not only will he be up on her, but he broke her arm in one instance. Another time he cracked her jaw in 9 places. Another time he broke her leg. So I grew up in that type of environment, but I didn't think that I would end up marrying my father. And that's exactly what I did in my first marriage. The man that I thought that was going to protect me and love me ended up terrorizing me. Yeah.
Wow. Could
Mm-hmm.
you break down what you mean by you wind up marrying your father?
Well, all of the things that I did not like or that I hated in my dad end up being my husband and more,
Wow.
as a matter of fact. So this mask is indicative of my life, my past life, and how I would wear the mask on the outside. You didn't know, nobody knew. My friend said, I didn't know, they had no idea,
Right.
because I would keep it all in, I would hide it. I attempted suicide twice
Wow.
and failed, because I didn't think there was going to be a way out for me.
Right.
And then one of the symptoms of domestic violence is sometimes you turn on yourself. So I thought it was all my fault.
Right.
Was I not good enough? Was I
Right.
not, even though the house was clean, the food was made, I didn't go nowhere. He wouldn't let me go anywhere, without his permission. When he said, it's time to go to bed, I had to go to bed whether I wanted to or not.
Wow.
I had to have sex with him if I was feeling good or not feeling good. Even if I had my period, didn't matter. I didn't matter as a person. So it was very hard for me.
Wow.
He was, and because I wasn't what they call from the streets, I didn't know the signals and the signs, and I didn't know that he was on cocaine and that led to crack. I didn't know about any of that stuff. And so, just the trauma and the drama of him taking things out of the house or him taking my money. He worked every day, and yet no money came to the house, if you know what I mean. There was
Right.
always a lie. There was always an excuse. And he was a big man. So, and I'm only like 4'11", and he would raise his voice and I would tremble. He never hit me though. But he would grab me, and he would grab me so he could grab me, and then I would have bruises for
Wow.
weeks just from him grabbing me. One
Grabbing
time,
you so hard. Right.
right, he lifted me up off the floor with his hands and choking me.
Mm, mm, mm.
And so,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, so that's the part that brings all the trauma.
Right.
When you don't know what's going to make them go off.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of people feel that domestic violence is just physical abuse. And, some people feel like because he does not hit me, is not abuse. What's your input on that?
No, it's more than just physical abuse. As a matter of fact, mental and emotional abuse can be far deeper than just the physical, the physical hitting, like I say, he was a big man. If he would have hit me, I wouldn't have survived at all. I'll give you an example. I had a good girlfriend. Her name was Jamie. Jamie was beautiful. She was married to a husband. Her husband was a police officer. But he killed his wife.
Wow.
In front of her children.
Oh, my Lord.
Shot her in the head. And then my husband took that example and said, that's what I'll do to you if you ever try to leave me. So you see the psychological trauma in that?
Yes.
And so he made it clear if I even thought about trying to leave him, he'll kill me. And I was convinced that that's exactly what would happen.
Right. So that is considered as what type of abuse?
That's emotional and mental abuse.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
All the way.
Yes, it is. Wow.
And
somebody,
you actually feel like, well, for me, I felt there was no way out for me
Right.
at all. Where was I going to go that, he wouldn't find me? I didn't have that money, like that. I had 2 children I had to raise. I was worried about what would happen to them. So I was a prisoner in my own home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. See, that's another thing that a lot of ladies is scared to get out because they have children with their abuser, or may not be with their abuser, may just be with someone in the past, and they just have children in the household,
Mm-hmm.
and the abuser is the provider. So with that, WPW try our very best to teach women how to get out safely. I would like for you to share with us, how did you get out? When did
Oh,
you decide to get out?
like I said, for me, I felt there was no way out.
Right.
And I felt that if I would have tried, he would have lived up to his promise and he would have killed me. So this intervention that happened wasn't because of me, it was in spite of me. God came in and did this for me. And it was one day, I was in the kitchen, I was doing my daughter's hair. I had the straightening comb. This is before your time. This is, I had the straightening comb and I was doing her hair and what have you. And the phone rang and she was talking to her friend. He came in and saw my daughter on the phone and he just went ballistic. He just went off. Like I said, I never knew what was going to set him off. And
Right.
so he took the straightening comb and he just destroyed the phone. He destroyed all the phones. And he was using all the words you could think of. And I'm going to kill your blankety blank, da 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 da. I'm sick and tired of you. And I don't know why that particular night I felt that was the night I was going to die. So he went into the bedroom and I was so scared that I could barely talk. But I told my daughter and my son, I said, take my son. And I only had $3 to my name. And I said, and I put it in her hand. And as softly as I could, I said, get out of the house, take him, get on the train, I lived in Queens at the time, go to my mother's. I wanted her and my baby out of the house because I knew that was the night I was going to die. Right.
Wow.
And so I did like this and I said, don't say anything, just go. And when she left, I went and I just sat in the living room, just looking at the bedroom door because any minute in my mind, he's going to come out, And so my thing is, if this is the night I'm going to die, I just don't want my children in the house.
Right. Absolutely.
About 10 or 15 minutes later, my daughter came back through the door. Now I'm panic stricken. Why are you back? And she said, Mom, I'm not leaving you. She went to my neighbor's house and called my family. They're on their way, but I didn't want her there. But now I don't know what to do, and I'm whispering.
Right.
So I said, sit down. I made them sit in the living room, but I went in the kitchen and I got a long knife. And I remember putting it under the seat where I was sitting, because when he comes out that room, because now I've got to defend. I wasn't really willing to fight for myself, but I was willing to fight for my kids, right?
That's right.
And I made them sit there. Nobody said a word, not my son, not my daughter. And I mean, my mouth went dry, everything. My heart was racing fast. Then I heard the elevator and I knew it was my family. And my daughter opened the door and all I did like this, they didn't make a sound. I'm still watching the door. My sister said, where's garbage bags? And they went in my kids' room and they just scooped up all the clothes. And whatever clothes I had in the closet out there, they grabbed that. We left out the door. He never came out the room. That's how I got away.
Wow. Well, I want to say, wow. Thank the Lord that you was able to get out. I do want to bring this to people's attention, those who's watching. Emotional abuse is also known as psychological abuse.
Yeah.
Right? So usually people who suffer from emotional abuse tend to have very low self-esteem. Did you have low self-esteem?
Absolutely. It wasn't really until years later when I got into leadership development that I realized that I really did have low self-esteem. And because of how I thought about myself, that's what I attracted into my life. And that's what I want to share with people. As you know, I always say, you attract what you are inside. If you are broken inside, that's what you're going to attract to yourself. So you got to give yourself time and let God do the work on you. And when you allow God to do the work on you, and he can, but you've got to allow that to happen. Absolutely. Then you can break that cycle. A lot of young women, I was one of them, we went from one relationship to another relationship, from one abusiveness to another. I wanted that cycle broken.
Right.
And for me, that was important, that I let God do what God, and I didn't have anyone to turn to. I didn't have anybody to talk to. So it was just really me and God. And then the Lord did it. Absolutely. But it wasn't overnight.
Right. Absolutely.
But the more I sought and prayed and studied, and God worked on me, and God showed me, this is what I got to fix in you. This is what I have to fix in you. This is a new heart. This is a new mind. This is a new eyes. And here's what the thing was. I never loved myself. I was always looking for someone to love me, to validate me. I never loved myself. I was never good enough, right? So if you feeling like you're never good enough, you're going to attract someone who thinks you're not good enough.
That is so true. That is so true. Wow.
So in those 7 years, and in my, I think it was 7 years, right? 7 years in my 40s now. And I'm like, Lord, just have your way with me. And it wasn't then and that I felt, can I take this off now?
Yeah.
That I felt in love with me. I fell in love with who I am. I was no longer seeking validation from a man. I wasn't, I didn't need that to complete me, but to compliment me, yes, but not to complete me. God completes me.
That's right. So it's funny when you was talking about that piece, you felt that you needed to take off the mask. So with that mask was on you because you were sharing your story at the beginning, and you said most of the time we put our feelings and pain on inside, keep it inside, and then what you see on the outside is a smile.
Right.
So once you became, you knew that you didn't need a man to validate you, or a person. Because remind you that men that being abused as well, and women being abused. So when a person, you don't need the validation from a person, and you said, my God gave me that.
Yes.
You felt that you needed to take off that mask.
Yes.
And I appreciate that.
Right. It was at that point where I now could face me, love me, appreciate me, honor me. And here's the key. Once I did that, I felt confident within myself. My self-esteem rose 100%.
There you go.
So now I'm living my life. I started my career. I started my business. I'm traveling the country. I'm doing training because God had worked on me. Not even looking or thinking about, my first husband, the one who terrorized me, he had passed away. And, and I was, as they say, living my best life, minding my business.
Right.
Until Mr. came along.
Yes. We're going to talk about that as well. We just want to give a quick announcement to our sponsor that sponsored this event for this evening, Miss Urban Buzz magazine. We want to show a clip of Miss Nigeria Anderson, her video. So I'm going to blink myself out, and I'm going to put on her video.
Your #1 hit online gospel radio station, only on Urban Buzz Magazine at urbanbuzzmag.com. This is where key players speak, promoting the hottest movies and album releases, interviewing the hottest artists, actors, musicians, bands, chefs, authors, poets, dancers, and filmmakers, businessmen and women, ministers, pastors, first ladies, and bishops. Did I mention the up-and-coming? The new generation of all things that's ready to tear up the charts. Get your grind on and promote up to 10 million viewers a month. Tune in 24/7 at urbanbuzzmag.com, a station for the new generation. Come and get your shine on. Our motto, quality and integrity. Be inspired, be encouraged, but more importantly, be blessed while you're listening to WKPS. Countdown, 3, 2. Here are your hosts, New York's finest, the Bronx Queen of Praise, Nigeria Anderson, playing the most diverse gospel. Log on and click it at urbanbuzzmag.com. Now,
So stop sharing. Okay. The WKPS Urban Buzz Magazine. You can reach Nigeria Anderson. She is Black owned, so we support Black owned definitely. WKPS, that was her YouTube channel, so you can also go underneath Urban Buzz Magazine. Thank you, Miss Nigeria Anderson, for sponsoring tonight's event. So, Queen, I would like for you to get into um, how did you meet your husband? Because, you know, some of us, well, I'm married, you know, I'm so grateful and I definitely appreciate, but I had to also come to terms with myself that I wasn't living my life right. I wasn't happy. You know, I had to really go through some things for me to understand that um, I want to do better, and usually when you know better, you do better, right?
Right.
So I started to love thyself, like seriously, love thyself. And once I was able to learn that, I am able to show love to my husband. So can you please get into that? How did you meet your husband?
I met my husband in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
74, 75. Now, this is before I met my husband now, before I met my first husband.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I was young, wild, crazy, hanging out, doing my thing, and we hung out together and we was doing our thing. He was a DJ playing all the clubs and I was going to the clubs where he was DJing. So it was like that.
Okay.
And then we separated for a while. He met somebody else and he got married. I had gotten married and we was off the radar.
Okay.
And then I went through all that trauma that I had shared with you.
Yes.
And I was separated from my husband for 3 years and then he died. And somehow I don't know how, but we hooked up with, I ran back into him and found out that the young lady he married, they both, my husband and his wife died the same year.
Mm.
And so he had a little girl. She was, at the time, she was 6 years old. Actually, he had 2 girls. And so we kind of hooked up for a little bit real quick, but out at this point now, I'm traveling. I'm doing my thing. I ain't got no time to be settling down.
Right.
You know? And so we separated. We separated again. Now in that separation, now is the time where God was doing the work on me, right? And then at that time, he had gave his life to the Lord and he was now in ministry and he was doing his thing, but we weren't together. But it was, I was now 49 years old. That's why I say, y'all, don't rush God. Let God do what God got to do, right?
I
He
know
had
that's
to work
right.
on him and he had to work on me.
Mm-hmm.
And we hooked back up. And then we dated for 3 years. Well, yeah, for 3 years. And then I was like, if this ain't going nowhere, you need to tell me because I ain't got this kind of time to be playing around,
Uh-huh.
So, and, and I was serious and I was like, I really wasn't looking to be married again. I was happy,
Okay.
And then he popped the question.
Oh.
And then, and then he says, would you marry me? And I was like, oh, Jesus.
Wow.
And I said, yes. I said yes. And here I am now getting married. But, now just the whole thing of, someone asked me to marry them.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
the way this man was nothing like my first husband.
Okay.
And so I said, well, I want to have a wedding. And he said, but he had already had a wedding. I had already had a wedding. We did that. I was like, I don't want to do that. I said, but what if we could have a wedding and not spend $100? And he was like, that's not possible. I said, you don't know me.
Watch me work. Watch me work.
You don't know
right?
me. He said, well, if you could make that happen, okay. And 30 days later, we got married. And I didn't spend $100. And we had over 250 people at the wedding.
Ooh,
Yes.
wow.
And it did not cost me $100. Didn't cost him $100. And we got married in the park. And then, it was just a whole big thing, just letting God do. And so now, let me just say that this 2021 will be 19 years.
Well, congratulations.
Yes.
Wow. That is so beautiful. So, because you went through what you went through in the past, were you looking for those jealous signs or the controlling signs or were you looking for any of those signs that you already went through in order for you to say yes to your husband now?
Well, when we dated, you are definitely on God. But let me just say this, you never really, 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 really know a person until you live with a person.
That's true.
But yes, I'm a communicator, right? And I learned to be more open and upfront with, so I shared with everything. I shared my trauma, I shared my triggers. I shared my, my fear of certain things with my husband, and we talk things out. Okay. Right? And he's a gentleman, he's a handsome man, but he's a gentleman. Mm-hmm. And committed to, I technically I am spoiled because he spoils me. So that was something I never had from anybody, that I dated. So I know that God had definitely planned this for me. It's amazing that it's going on 19 years. It just seems like it was just yesterday. But for those who may not think that, God can't do it, God can do it. Don't put a limit on God.
Right.
Don't put no limits on God. Trust God. And I know what it's like because there are some women out there. Don't compromise yourself.
Right.
And that leads, you got to take your responsibility in the abuse as well. Right. And most of us, right, and that's a conversation people don't want to have. They talk about the abuser, but they don't take personal responsibility. What did you contribute to that? I walked into that relationship. All right. I walked into that relationship with my eyes wide open. I had to own that.
Absolutely.
Right. I had to, and and then after it was over, I had to face me on that. Absolutely. And I had to ask myself some tough questions. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do differently so that you don't end up in that again? My first husband never met me. Mm-hmm. He met the person, I became the person he wanted to see, not the person that I was. I hid me. I'm very outgoing. I'm very intelligent. That intelligence would intimidate him, so I never showed him that. You see what I'm saying? Right. So I had to own up to the fact I have to take responsibility in some of that myself. And that's a hard thing to deal with for some people.
That is true. I mean, like when you said don't rush God. So for example, this is for example, you know, sometime when you place an order and you want your stuff from Target and they give you a date, and sometimes that date come and go. Something could have happened to that package. So it's like, don't rush what God have delivered or have in place for you. Don't rush it. I was rushing it myself. I wanted to be loved, but one of my cousins told me, you're selfish. And I'm
Okay.
like, what? You know,
Okay.
I was hurt. Like, boy, I'll cook you food and what? I was really hurt. But then I had to realize, damn, maybe I am. You know, so I had to sit back and reevaluate some things in my life. I was rushing love. I wanted it so bad because I felt like I wasn't getting love from my parent or whatever the case might be. I felt like when I was younger that I needed to be somebody tell me that I was pretty. I don't need that. You know,
Right.
I'm a whole woman. I accept who I am. I appreciate who I am. I know how to balance my time, you know, balance family time, husband time, mother time, grandma time, you know. So I learned how to do all these things now because I know now and I understand now. And I speak to women like yourself that help me see things, you know. And these stories right here, it is really helpful for other people who's listening. Emotional abuse is real.
Yeah, it is.
Physical abuse, yes, yes, yes. The scar is there, but that internal stuff is, well, the physical abuse you could put on some vitamin E and let the scar go away. But that inside, that internal
emotional
abuse,
right.
will
Yes.
really, really have you jacked up.
Yes.
Have you be beating up yourself. I'm not pretty. I'm not good enough. All these things that he might say to you in the midst of the storm. Because listen, I have heard some stuff, and I was just like, I was scared. I was scared. I was scared. If you ever leave me, So when you said that, I'm not gonna say it triggered, but I can understand where you're coming from. Women suffer with PTSD, anxiety, and hearing these stories from the younger generation, the mid-age, the older generation, get them to understand domestic violence don't have no damn age. Excuse my French, but
it doesn't. Can I jump in on that one?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm 67 years old.
Ooh.
And I know that there are some women out there my age still going through this domestic violence because they have accepted it, they have internalized it. I'm a pastor now, so I can say this. Some of the most ugliest people, and I'm not talking about ugly in terms of looks, I'm talking about ugly disposition,
right?
Are Christian women. And some of the ugliest Christian women are the ones who are going through abuse in their homes. And that's why they come to churches and they're so bitter and so angry and so ornery, because I couldn't understand why you want to keep coming to church like this. Stay home.
Right. Right.
But misery loves company. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and so you can, the thing is that God gives me sometimes the discernment to be able to spot it. And some of the most abused women are in Christians' homes.
This is true. This is true. They're definitely searching. They searching, and they, it hurts my heart. because I wish I could do so much more. 2021, we will be working on putting on a proposal in someone's lap. We are also working on a domestic violence coalition.
Oh, good.
I definitely stay up and I read the policies or the law passed from which politician. Yeah, I am well all the way embedded. My expertise is real.
Okay.
Like I'm all the way in because I want to do more. I want to do more. We are hurting silently and people don't know. You know, during the time of COVID, the amount of women or men going through domestic violence, it was double, triple
Yes, yes,
because of the
yes,
isolation.
yes.
You know, were you isolated? Speaking of that,
Me,
yes.
in terms of being, no, I'm sheltered in. Nope, not. And see, it's a mindset. For
Mhm.
some people, they were isolated.
Right.
Me, sheltered in. God is protecting me by keeping me home. And no, it didn't really bother me to be home. Actually, I travel a lot. But I
Okay.
have not gone anywhere this year other than going to the grocery store and back home. Why?
Well,
Because I'm sheltered in.
regarding your DV, were you isolated from people?
Yes. Oh, you mean when I was in
Right.
domestic
Mm-hmm.
violence?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't allow me to. I couldn't even talk to
Mm.
my friends on the phone if he was in the house.
So speaking of that, was it levels to that? Like some people feel like it's all in one shot. You have a charming person that will love you all day, all night, and then turn around and say, move you further from your family, you know, just want your time and your time only.
Mm-hmm.
So how did your isolation piece happen?
It happened gradually. All right. In the beginning, of course, when you first meet, everything is all lovey-dovey and everything. But I think it had a lot to do with his escalation of drugs.
Mm,
I mean, I
okay.
can only, but because it wasn't like boom, it was in your face. It happened gradually until it got worse and worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So you had the emotional aspect, the psychological piece,
Mental.
the
Mm-hmm.
mental aspect as well, the isolation piece. Was
Mm-hmm.
he also jealous?
Oh, very jealous. That was the whole purpose of being isolated. You
Mm.
know, if we, we would go to church every Sunday, but if someone paid me a compliment, I suffered for it.
What?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Just it was bad. I mean, it was bad, and I would choke it down. I mean, I would cry by myself. I would, go in the bathroom and just cry, and again blame myself.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
How did besides, you said your healing aspect came from,
I wanted. It was a simple question. Lord, is this what my life is for? Because if it is,
mhm,
tell me, and I will accept it.
right,
But if it isn't, fix me.
that's right. Mm,
And so, I mean, I was sincere with that prayer. Fix me, Lord. And that's when the Lord starts to do the work on me. Again, like I said, hurting people hurt people, and hurting people are hurt by people. All
that's
right.
right. Mhm,
And so, and it was all the things I didn't have, all the things I didn't know to have. And that was the love of God in myself. Stop looking for others to do what only God can do.
that's right.
only God can complete you and fill you up like that. And so because I believe that I was sincere, and because I didn't have the distractions anymore, and because I wasn't I told you I went celibate for the first time. I lost my virginity at 15, and I went celibate for the first time 41 to 49.
Okay. Yes.
All right. So that was a whole nother experience for me.
Right.
Celibate because I couldn't get none. All right. I had honey buns all over the place. But it was because I was sincere. And then I realized that part of the problem was the reason I was treated like trash is because I treated myself like trash. Because when you give yourself up like that, that's what you're giving yourself away. And the only thing you throw away is trash. That's a hard thing. Only the Holy Spirit could come in your face with that.
I'm trying to tell you what.
Yes, definitely.
I would love to have you on again. I absolutely enjoy talking with you. The wisdom, the queenish, the pastor, the tools you dropped is well needed. I just got goosebumps all through my legs just now. Like, I definitely appreciate it 100%.
Well, thank you, darling. Anytime.
Yes. I have I have a book, a journal book that my little sister and I put together. So I would like to share one of those pieces with you. Our next guest is coming on, so hopefully next guest is so I'll bring her in a minute. But right now, I just want to just share with you this sneak preview of my book that's coming. Right now, I'm working on getting the copy written, so I'm grateful for that.
Okay.
That's not it. That was just some information. As you see, that is my DV class that I'm working on. So I'm gonna stop sharing that. Now I'm still working with this whole Zoom stuff. I'm still learning it.
I understand.
Yes. So I definitely want to bring you on again. I appreciate it. I could talk with you. Matter of fact, when we get off the phone, you might get a phone call.
No problem. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
I appreciate it very much. Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Aminata, you can't talk to her, okay?
That's so rude. Look. So do you see that?
My people, okay?
You see that right there?
I see it, yes.
So inside of the journal book, we have, I am a phenomenal woman and I demand my power now. I am powerful. I am a powerful woman. I am wise and gorgeous. I am deserving of love and respect. I am my own woman. I am a queen.
The next time I have to tell you about the book I'm writing.
Okay. Yes. Ooh, that is so lovely. Thank you so much and allowing me to share and talk with you and feel comfortable with you. And you must come back. You must come
Anytime.
back.
Anytime.
Thank you. So if you could just nod yourself off if you can.
Okay.
But I definitely won't call you after this.
All right. Take care.
All right. Have a good evening. Waiting for my next guest. this
That's
evening.
great.
Thank you. There she go. Hi. How are you? Let's see. Do you hear me? You can take yourself off of mute.
Okay,
How you doing?
I'm fine.
Thank you, Queen. Oh, I know you said you wasn't feeling too good.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Gotta keep pushing.
That's right. That's right. So, I definitely want to thank you for coming on this evening, taking out the time to come on and share with me, with us. And I know you wanted to speak to us. First of all, you're an author. Talk to me about that.
I just completed I'm a co-author. I just completed a collaboration book with some amazing women. The book is called Our Story, His Glory, Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually about a lot of us make choices without consulting God or whoever we believe in. And tends to it tends to make life a little bit harder. So we're just discussing some stories that we feel was a learning and a teachable lesson, not only to us, but to other women out there.
Absolutely.
My chapter was about colorism and self-esteem, how people look about how I felt about myself at a certain point in my life, and how I actually basically let any and everybody do what they wanted to do because I didn't love myself. So you get to a point in life where you learn to love yourself more than you love others, and you do better because you know better.
Ooh, I just said that too. I just said that. That's so funny. So I want you to fully introduce yourself. I'm so sorry. I didn't even fully allow you to, because I know who you are because we emailed each other back and forth. But fully introduce yourself, Arthur.
Okay, my name is Swanna Baker. I'm originally from Harlem, New York. I am the CEO of Baker Concise Communications and BCC Travel Elite. As you already stated, I'm also a co-author.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say a victim. I'm a survivor of
There you go.
domestic violence
Mm-hmm.
and sexual assault.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So I know what it feels like to be
Right.
in a situation where you don't think you can make it out of it, but you can.
Right. So talk to me about you said physical.
Yes.
Talk to me
Um,
about that.
that started, I could say, physical abuse, domestic violence when I was maybe around 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't supposed to be dating. And anyway, because my parents didn't allow it. And the
Mm-hmm.
funniest thing is, a lot of people tend to think that survivors of domestic violence usually see it at home and they think it's okay. That's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
My mother and my father was in the same household. My father, I've never seen my father put his hands on my mother up
Okay.
until the day he died. Never seen it. But I thought at the time it was acceptable for
Mm-hmm.
other people to put their hands on me. And I was about 14 or 15. That's why when we did the march, when we did the march, I was really impressed to see a lot of young people there because that was around the age it started for me where it was, slapping around and you really don't want to tell anybody because you're afraid of what your family might do, whereas the other person feel that the fear that they have over you is what's
Mm-hmm.
keeping you around, and sometimes it's not. My fear was, if I tell my mother or if I tell my father, somebody going to jail. So I can't let them know what's going on, and we keep it to ourselves. And the abuser, my first abuser, was, it was kind of crazy because I thought, since he was such a popular guy and the fact that he liked me,
Mm-hmm.
then it was okay.
Mm.
Everybody knew about it. Everybody in the streets knew about it, except for my family. But his family knew about it. But nobody said anything. Nobody said it was wrong. Nobody did anything. So I just allowed it to continue to the point where I, at 17, had to fight for my life and my child's life to get away from the person.
Wow.
After that, I started realizing that I just kept thinking it was okay. The next relationship I got into, I thought it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I had a counselor back then,
Mm-hmm.
and I did not know until she told me that I was being raped, that I was actually being, like, I didn't know, because we're taught the rapist is somebody you don't know.
Right.
You know, it's not somebody that could be close to you. It's not, okay, don't go to your uncle, don't go sit on your uncle's lap, but nobody ever says you can be physically raped in a dating situation. So I didn't know until my counselor told me.
Wow.
And it took me quite some time to actually stop the abuse from happening, to say, you know what, when I see the red flag, I'm out.
Right.
You know, I
Right.
don't show me nothing else. I'm out. I done seen enough red flags to know what they are.
Right. Absolutely. So, and then while you was going through the physical abuse, like, did he just off the bat start kicking, hitting, punching, choking,
It
or
was
all of the above?
for anything. It was all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
For anything. I remember one time, I called my family because I ran away. Basically, I was a runaway. I wasn't supposed to be in the streets, but in order to be with him, I couldn't be at home. So I ran away. And it was one time, I remember, I called my mom and I told her that I was up in Schenectady somewhere. And she was like, "You're right." She knew I wasn't in Schenectady, but she didn't know where I was. My jaw had been shut, wired shut, because he had punched me in my jaw to the point of I couldn't move. I couldn't, like, my family knew nothing about the abuse until one day I was on the phone with my mother, and he walked in the room and slapped me while I was on the phone with my mother. And my mother heard it on the other end of the phone. And it was like, she came, she came OK Corral style, which as a parent, I understand why she came that way, but it didn't stop until I said enough was enough.
Absolutely. You know, I definitely can relate to that as well. Wow, that's crazy. Same here. It didn't just happen off the rip, as in the physical. It happened, I'm thinking this person really liked me, and he was feeling me. I thought I was an ugly duckling, so it was just like, somebody likes me, and they telling me that they love me and all that, and I didn't have that much boobs. It was just like a whole 17, 18-year-old thing going on. And you know, it just got from him beating up my mother to um me getting beat up, and I should have known the signs then, right? Because he did that to my mother. But it was like, where do I go? He did this to my mom, but where am I gonna go? So I was with him, and I was in this little room, and his mother didn't even know I was there. So he would hit me upside the head with a remote. So, it those little nights, those dark nights when you're being told if you ever try to leave me, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
The trauma bond, making you feel bad because if you think about leaving, all these little key factors that make
And
you
nobody's gonna want you. He's
right.
gonna yeah,
Nobody loves you. So tell me, what was one of the worst things that you heard from the person that you felt that loved you? Like, share that with us.
I'll never forget this. I was, I think, 7.5 months pregnant, and we were at his house, and his mother and his sister was in the living room, and we were in the bedroom, and I had just found out that he was cheating,
Mm,
and I didn't like come out aggressive like I was on some, oh, so you with her now,
mm-hmm.
and it sent him into a complete rage, and he started punching me in my face. Now, mind you, I'm pregnant. And he's like, I'm gonna kill you and this baby.
Oh my Lord.
And grabbed me by my hair and dragged me into another room in the kitchen and opened the stove and shoved my head in it. It was
Mm,
like, do you really want to die today? And went to go turn on the stove. Mind you, nobody said anything. The mother didn't say anything, the sisters didn't say anything, because that's how they were raised. Everybody was raised that the men, it was okay for men to put their hands on women. And it just so happens that, I mean, God does everything for a reason. He really does. Because it was a light bulb moment when he said, I will kill you and this baby. That let me know that it's time. I got to go. It's
mm,
it's either us or him. And when I meant us, I have a full grown baby in my stomach. Like, it's either us
right.
or him. So
Wow. What would you wow. I'm I'm speechless. I want to say thank you and I appreciate it and I'm so happy that that was enough. We I thought because I'm a Gemini, I take so much and I keep taking and taking. But I believe that when a woman feel that this person, not all women, let me clear that up, not all women, but a lot of women who have low self-esteem, because I am one who had low
who had it?
self-esteem,
Yeah.
right? And I felt like this person really loved me more than my own family. So I didn't want to leave right away. I felt like, oh my goodness, this is just something that happens in teenage relationships because mine happened when I was a teenager. So it's like,
Like, you think everybody, this is what the norm, and you don't
right,
figure out it's not the norm until, I mean, to me, I didn't figure out it wasn't the norm until I was in my mid-20s.
right,
And basically, I had and when I mean I had enough. It was like, if you look at me sideways, or if you raise your voice at me, or if you say something to me the wrong way, I'm gone. But a lot of people, what bothers me a lot when I hear people say it is, well, she could leave. She can leave if she wants to. And it's not that
that easy.
easy. It's not. Until you
Nope.
feel comfortable within yourself to
Mhm,
be by yourself,
mhm,
even in the mix, and this, it may be for some adults too. You see everybody else being a happy couple. You don't want to be alone. So you're willing to take anything to be alone, not to be alone. But at the same time, the couples you see smiling, you don't know what's going
mhm,
on behind them closed doors.
right.
So it takes a lot for a person to say, you know what, not ever again in my life. And if it does get
Absolutely.
that way, I'm out. But
Right.
in the mix of it, especially teenagers, you see your friends going through it, so you
Mhm.
think it's normal. You think it's the norm, and
It's not.
it's so not. It's
Right.
not.
So you also said that you've gone through sexual abuse as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Was
I just
that?
thought that was part of a relationship.
Mm,
I thought that when they said they wanted it, regardless of how you felt, you were supposed to give it to them.
right.
I've been choked, I've been threatened with knives, and it was like, okay, if my therapist had never said, Swanna, you are being raped, this is rape behavior, I would have never known it because I'm immediately thinking of stranger danger.
Right. Right.
But it got to a point like, I remember one time I was gasping for air, just
Wow.
gasping for air. And I guess it turns him on even more that I was
Mm,
gasping for air, but it was like, okay, this is now I understand what she's saying. Now
right.
I get it. But there's also, and I have to state this because my last sexual assault was actually my worst. I
Mm,
had been sexually assaulted for many years, not even by different relationships, and didn't really realize it. And the last one, when I did realize it and I went to report it, there was a roadblock.
mm,
So I gave up and I said, you know what? Fine. I'm not saying anything anymore. But if it ever happens again, I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to make sure that, I'm well protected.
right. Right. Right.
But at the same time, a lot of laws have to be looked at
Right.
to actually help us. You want us to report, but then when we do report, there's a roadblock. There's something, and a lot of a lot of police officers aren't trained on how to deal with special victim units.
Yep.
They're not
Absolutely.
trained. So if you walk in the precinct and you say, like I did, I walked in the precinct, I got raped on 134th and 8th Avenue. It's
Mm.
right around the corner from 32nd
The
Precinct.
the precinct. Right.
Walked right around the corner and walked in, saw a female officer and told her I had been raped.
Mm,
She told me to tell her what happened, and I told her what happened.
mm,
She then told me that if I decided to press charges, because I had visited this man in Rikers Island, then they would come after the defense attorneys could come after me and my son was only maybe 2 or 3 at the time. She was like, they're gonna drag you through the mud because you're on his paperwork. That caused me not to say any, like, I was so, that did more trauma to me than the actual rape. Because now that I learned that I was raped and I go to report that I'm raped,
mm-hmm.
what can I do about it?
Right. Wow. So I want to say once again, I definitely appreciate you speaking to us, and that is very traumatizing. Um, and then again, re-traumatized going to NYPD that you're expecting them to do something, but then when they start telling you all of this, you're like, you know what, forget it.
Right.
Um, and I am working on a domestic violence coalition. And things like this, we want to bring to the table. Just the other night, I was up until 2 in the morning, had to go to work the next morning, but I am so embedded on what I'm doing that I was looking into the different policies and the laws that some of the politicians have passed. So I would love to talk to you further about that, because if it could happen to you at a young age, older age, whatever the case might be, it could also happen to the next person. Because remind you, this individual, who knows if he got help? We don't know. We don't know if he got any type of help due to the fact that he seen this in the house or believed that this is the way a man's supposed to be to
Actually,
the
he was a
woman.
product of rape. It kind of, I was real cool with his mother. And it just so happens one day his mother was hanging out in front of my mother's building with one of my mother's neighbors. And it was right after, it was maybe a little bit after he did it to me. And everybody, and let me explain this. It was, that situation was trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma, because I had told a mutual friend of ours that he raped me. She went back and told him. So, yeah. So, one day I was walking down 125th Street, and she also told him that I was pregnant from the rape. So, yeah, that's some great friend back then. But he decides to come across the street and start screaming "baby killer" towards me. So I scream back "rapist" to him.
Mm.
So we're having this baby killer rapist argument on 125th and Madison Avenue. And about I could say a year later, that's when I seen his mother in front of my mom's building. So she knew everything. Like, everybody told her what had happened. So she looked at me and she said, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." So what are you talking about? She was like, "I'm sorry my son did what he did to you, but he was a product of rape." And it was like, wow. Like, does he know he's a product? She was like, "Yeah, I told him that when he was younger." So that she thought by telling him it would stop him from raping. She really, it, one thing I can honestly say is that was one day that I felt like forgiveness was toward her, because she didn't have to tell me that. She didn't have to come hug me and tell me she was sorry for her son. She could have just, most mothers would have just act like they didn't know anything. But I appreciated the fact that she did tell me that. And because I have a son,
Mm-hmm.
by me being raped, I've kind of stressed upon him
Mm-hmm.
that that's not what is acceptable to me.
Right. Absolutely. So, did you forgive him? Speaking on forgiveness, did you forgive him?
I think, to be honest with you, I think I started to. I'm still in the process of it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I can fully forget. I'm fully forgiving him.
Right.
I can't say if I seen him walking down the street right now how I would react,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know. I
Right.
haven't seen him in about 20 years. So for me, it's more of a, I forgive and I let go.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know the reaction that may ever happen if we're in the same room or we're in the
Right.
same space. But I don't wish him any ill will.
Mm-hmm.
From what I heard through the streets, of course, that he was assaulted several times behind raping someone right after he
Oh
raped
Lord.
me.
Mm-hmm.
So some people say his behavior has changed. He's more humble,
Mm-hmm.
but considering I don't think I would ever get an apology.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just gotta forgive people that don't even know they need to apologize.
Right. What age were you when you was going through that?
That was my last encounter, and I would say I was about 20.
About 20 years old.
About 20, yeah, about 20, 21.
Because a lot of people feel like it can happen to them, or if that happened to me, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes you just can't do that X, Y, and Z.
That's what the mutual friend told me. That's why she went back and told him, because she was like, you carry razors in your mouth. And this was back in the 90s when, we was a
Yeah.
little
Right.
off cuff.
Right.
And she was like, I just couldn't believe that you let him do that to you. And in my mind, that made it even worse because I didn't let him do anything to me.
Right.
But you're looking at me and you're saying she's so tough and she's willing to fight anybody, and I would do. And
No.
that's if you're
No.
caught off guard.
Yeah.
All the toughness goes out the window because you're thinking, if you could do this to me, even if you say you loved me at one point, if you could do this to me, what else can you do to me?
Yeah.
You
It's
could
true.
choke me out and kill me. You could do anything to me right now because I'm vulnerable.
Right.
So you could say, nah, I would hit him in the throat. And the funny thing is, I was taught karate. I was taught self-defense.
Right.
So it's like,
Right. Wow.
but if you're caught off guard.
Right. When you're shocked and this is someone that like you said, you was taught, it would be someone that you don't know, whatever the case might be, or somebody that doesn't love you, doesn't like you, don't even know nothing about you. But this is somebody that you felt at the time loved you,
Somebody you spent time with.
Right.
Sometimes somebody you thought you knew. So yeah.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. So did you peep any warning signs? Did you see any of those, or you just didn't know?
Warning signs.
Mm-hmm.
Not. I had seen warning signs in the previous relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So by that point, I was already red flagged out.
Right.
If I see a red flag, I'm out. And by him cheating, okay, here was the scenario. He went to jail. I went to visit him.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that he was still dealing with his baby mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I started dealing with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I broke up with him because you're dealing with your baby mother. I don't want to be no parts of that. Once drama starts, I ain't got time for it. Go about
Right.
your
Right.
Go on. So I had a letter in my back pocket with a WIC card from one of my mother's foster care kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I dropped, we had another mutual friend, and everybody always went up to his house to drink and to smoke and to hang out, but he never locked his door. Like, we always knew that was the hangout house. He never locked his door because he knew somebody, one of us might need to come in there and just, if it got cold, just go in there and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
So I had dropped, one day we were all sitting there chilling, and he was like really upset because he was like, oh, so you really gonna break up with me? Oh, yeah. Like, it's over. I was busy playing. I will never forget it because I kept playing 112 on repeat. It's over now.
Mm-hmm.
That was the year it happened. Summer,
Mm-hmm.
right. I think it was the summer of 99.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I'm done with you. I went to pull something out of my pocket, and the WIC card and the love letter from another dude fell out my pocket. I left not knowing anything fell out my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother asked me for the WIC card, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I could go get it.
Mm-hmm.
So I called the mutual friend, like, yo, I left the WIC card at your house. And he was like, oh, okay, just go up there and get it. You know, the door open. And I'm like, okay, cool. I get there, I get the WIC card, see it on the dresser. get it, turn around. He's smack dab in front of me. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, so you dealing with this? And pulls the love letter out of his pocket. I didn't see it coming. I thought it was going to be a straight fight. I thought it was, just going to be me and him tussling or whatever. Turned into straight rape. And it was nothing. It was like, what can you do? You can't do anything. So as soon as I left out of there, like I didn't take a shower. I was right there around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
that's when I went and told the police, and it was like, well, you're on his paperwork. You went to go see him in Rikers Island. And I'm like, but that was before, like, huh?
Oh my goodness, right. That these rules gotta change. So what was your healing process look like? What did that look like?
It looked like years of self-hate.
Mm,
It looked like angry all the time.
right. Were
Don't want
you
nobody to
blaming
touch
yourself?
me. Not really blaming myself, but I didn't want to cope and deal with it. I didn't want to talk about it. I would only talk about it to my son. I would only talk about it and not even talk about it to him, but like in the aspect of this is what's not allowed from me. So it was years of broken relationships
Right.
because after that if you even now, if you walk behind me too close, I'll move to the side. I don't like crowds. I don't like nobody sneaking up behind me. There are triggers that still happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to lie to you. I do get triggered. I still get triggers.
Right.
But for me to heal, it was literally me taking on the responsibility of learning to love myself.
There you go.
Scars, roles, attitude, whatever. I had to really learn how to. It took a while. It took for me to be by myself for about 3 years for me to realize there's things about me that I don't even like. And I don't like the fact that I don't like things about me because of something somebody else did to me.
Right.
So I had to literally learn to love myself to the point of, okay, either you take it, you leave it, like you said earlier, we felt like we was the ugly ducklings. And now I'm like, I'm not ugly.
Right. There you
Even
go.
if I wanted to be ugly, I'm not ugly because there's something inside of me that makes me a better person than what you see on the outside. Yes, I have big lips. I have a big nose. I have acne. And
Yeah, right.
I
Right.
have a dark complexion. Okay. And
Okay.
not to be funny, but chocolate is running through. Everybody want chocolate now. Everybody want dark chocolate.
Right.
So, that doesn't define who I am as a person. To me giving back and looking back and trying to help somebody else get through the same pain that I know I experienced, that
Right.
makes me a better person than what you see. It makes me a better person to be around, and that's the legacy that I'm leaving.
There you go. So what was your safety plan? How were you able to get out of that?
My safety plan was always my mother's house. My mother's house is always my safety plan because regardless of what I know, if I go home, I'm protected.
Right.
You know what I mean? The first time when I was like in my teenage years and I was trying to hide everything from everybody, when I got home, and at first I was scared because my ex used to call the house and be like, if you don't come back down here, I'm coming up there to get you. And I'm like, okay, never mind, I'll come down there. But as I got older, I realized, come on up here.
Mm-hmm.
Because you coming to my territory now. Now this is my home.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother's house will always be my
No
safe
safety plan.
retreat.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I'm glad that you still had a family member that you can, your mom, your house to go to. Some people don't have that because, like, a lot of these children are foster children, and they don't have that support that, some of us have. So with that, I was interviewing a young lady yesterday, and she said that, she'd been through a couple of things with foster care, and she went through DV with her girlfriend and whatever the case may be. And I'm like, wow, and she's only 21. So it's like, sometimes what you see in the household, like you said, hurt people. Some people feel like um, what they gone through or doing is right, and it's not. Um, what what would you say if someone is going through that right now? Like, what message would you give them?
Okay. As a former foster parent,
Mm,
myself and my mother is a foster parent, I can honestly say there are some really good foster parents out there, and we do
mm,
go to the letter of the law. Me and my mother are both former educators as well as being parents. My mother still runs a daycare. One thing you have to take seriously is if you're a mandated reporter.
right.
Someone comes to you and says, I'm being raped or I'm being assaulted,
Mm-hmm.
or you see something, you as an adult, as a mandated reporter, have to say
Have to
something,
say
not
something. Yeah,
only to save that kid or to save that young adult, but it helps them to know that they have someone who has their back.
that's right.
If that they have some, even if it's a counselor or a teacher or anything, if you know that you have a rapport with this kid, you may not even have a rapport. That may be the beginning of the rapport, with letting the student or the kid know that they're safe
Right,
when it comes to you.
right. Wow. So, wow. You're right. Mandated reporters, people do need to take that very serious. We take the training to do the work, and a lot of people are not doing the work. Some people will see it happening and just keep on walking. That's You're right about that one. So if somebody is going through that right now, like I said, we're about to close up in a couple of minutes, but I just want you to give a message to our young families, or young youth, our girls, our boys,
Um,
because women, it's not just women who get raped. It's also, like
mm,
you mentioned, boys get raped as well. But
um,
what can you say?
First of all, I want to start by saying it's not only females that get sexually assaulted or have to deal with domestic violence.
Sure.
It's also males, is little boys, is men. There are men experiencing domestic violence situations, and they feel like they can't they're raised or they're told not to put their hands on a female, but a female puts their hands on them. One thing I would say is everybody is walking around with a camera.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do nothing else but protect yourself with that camera, because now you have evidence,
Right.
turn it on.
Right.
Turn that evidence on so that it's not just your word against theirs, it's actions against words.
Mm,
Find someone that you trust, that you know is looking out for your well-being, not for ulterior motives, but literally, sincerely is looking out for you. Even if you're talking to somebody, just let them know what's going on, because you can't get help if nobody knows.
That's
I
true.
was a silent sufferer. So I understand where you don't want to tell anybody because you're afraid of the repercussions that might happen. But at the same time, please know that person that is hurting you is also scared of the repercussions that is going to happen. So be more be more focused on you, on loving you and what's best for you. And
Absolutely.
somebody that loves you would never put their hands on you. They will never hurt you. They will never make you feel like your life is in jeopardy. Physical, emotional, financial, sexual, all of it is abuse if it's used without your consent.
Mm,
So say something, speak up, because now is the time. Everybody is listening, and you have more help now than you had in the
back in the
90s.
day, right?
You
Right.
have more help now. You have more people that have been raped that are survivors that are willing to reach back and help somebody else because we've been through it.
Right.
Come talk to us. If you see programs like your program, or like if you see, I have a Facebook page, Bruised Not Broken.
Hmm.
Get on there, write, tell somebody so that way we can help you.
That's right.
They don't have to know that you're getting help. We can help you get an escape plan, but you
Amen.
have to want it. You have to want it.
Mm. Amen to that. Yes, we are Phenomenal Women is an organization that do want to educate our people on domestic violence. At one point, I was just looking into domestic preventive services for educating our women. But then the more and more events I start having, there were men coming out saying, I gone through domestic violence. And the reason why I was just focusing on women is because I was a young girl who was getting, the situation happening to me from a dude. So it's like, dude, guys don't go through that. But the more and more I start having these events, the more and more, I mean, there was one guy who was a bouncer. He was tall as I don't know what. And he said that he was going through domestic violence. And I'm like, what? So, I mean, our organization don't judge no one. Is same sex, is all of that going on. Domestic violence is domestic violence. It don't have no race, it don't have no color, it don't have no gender, it don't have no
No
age,
age.
no age, right? So with that, we definitely want to educate our people. This is why I asked you and the other queen that was on to share, your story. I definitely appreciate you. Once again, we are Phenomenal Woman, have so much work to do. We are working on 2020. Our vision is to put a proposal in someone's lap and say, we want a building. We want a single woman shelter. We are working on, so a lot of these shelters are women who are family who gone through domestic violence. The woman with the child. Not
Yeah.
so many shelters have single women. So my husband and I, we watch a lot of these. We watch a show called Drink Champs, and Noriega, he mentioned give people their flowers while they still here. So on my table, I wish you was here. I usually have big events.
Oh,
I want to say, give someone their purple flowers. Give somebody their purple flowers while they still here. So the other queen, if she's still on, I really wish you and we all was together in the same room and say, here, sis, here's your flowers for being so brave, brave. I want to definitely say brave because this here, talking about it, I'm not a doctor. Just talking about it, just either it could go one way or go another way, which is it could go from a emotional aspect, bring you back into it, PTSD kick up. So yes, I'm not a doctor. I've gone through it as well, but I want to say let's look at this as a healing process. Let's look at this and say we want to help other people, other women, other men who've gone through it. Understand us. Stop saying that, oh Lord, that child, she got so much, she got baggage. Yeah, we have baggage from somebody else's baggage.
There's a reason why we have baggage.
Right.
Instead of looking at the baggage, look at the reason for the baggage.
Absolutely. And just let the Lord just take his course, let him just make the way, all the way, follow the yellow brick road. In my
That's
case, the purple road.
that's the reason why I started Bruised Not Broken, is so that we can actually get together as a community and know that we are not alone.
That's right. That's right.
It's too many of us statistically that
Mm-hmm.
have been through so much, and what we need to really do as parents, teach your kids that it's not okay.
That's right.
Your body is your body.
That's right.
If somebody has, you have to gain permission for
Mm-hmm.
you to touch my body.
That's right.
If you do not, that's assault.
Right.
You have to teach your boys it's not okay to grab little girls.
That's right.
That's not the way you teach them how to like people.
That's right.
Stop teaching boys that they can't cry, that they can't be emotional. They are human beings as well.
That's right.
They go through things too.
That's
I
right.
have a boy, and
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because everybody's like, Swanna, you're not supposed to teach that to a male.
Mm-hmm.
If you can walk away as a man, walk away.
That's
If
right.
you cannot, do what you have to do to make it home at night.
That's right.
My daughter, I say the same thing. If you don't want a man to put his hands on you, don't put your hands on no. Your hands belong to you. That's
That's
who your
right.
hands supposed to be on. So don't go around thinking everybody was raised like your brother, where no, you're not supposed to hit a female. Because nowadays, some of them, you
Yep.
hit a man, he gonna turn around and hit you back.
Nah, they doing
So be
worse than
prepared for that.
that.
Be prepared for that.
Yeah, yeah, they
So
doing
I
more than
mean,
that.
it goes
Mm-hmm.
both ways. Men go through things, us women have trauma, and let's stop making it seem like it's just us.
There you go.
It's a we thing.
That's
We
right.
are all in this together.
That's right. And
And
that's
that's the only way it'll stop, is if we
we.
stop it. We talk to the next generation as men and as women. That's the only way it's gonna stop.
Amen to that. So I want to say thank you so much. Our sponsor for tonight was Urban Buzz Magazine. Uh, Miss Nigeria Anderson, Queen Nigeria Anderson is Black
Oh,
owned, and we definitely want to show her video once again because we all about supporting our Black um, businesses. So let me make this bigger. One more time, and then we're gonna cut out.
okay. And
WKPS,
can I
the
just
number
give a
one
quick plug for the
online
book?
gospel radio station,
Hold on one
only on
second.
Buzz Magazine
Hope
at
you hear it.
urbanbuzzmag.com. This is where key players speak, promoting the hottest movies and album releases,
Do you hear it?
interviewing the hottest artists, actors, musicians, bands, chefs, authors, poets, dancers, and filmmakers, businessmen and women, ministers, pastors, first ladies, and bishops. Did I mention the up and coming? The new generation of all things that's ready to tear up the charts. Get your grind on and promote up to 10 million viewers a month. Tune in 24/7 at urbanbuzzmag.com. A station for the new generation. Come and get your shine on. Our motto, quality and integrity. Be inspired, be encouraged, but more importantly, be blessed while you're listening to WKPS. Countdown. 3, 2. Here are your hosts, New York's finest, the Bronx Queen of Praise, Nigeria Anderson, playing the most diverse gospel. Log on and click it at urbanbuzzmag.com. Now,
So yes, ma'am. You wanted to close out?
Yes, just to let you guys know, if you wanted to read a piece of my story that I have not talked about tonight, which is funny because that is a piece of story that's in my book, Our Stories, His Glory, Volume 2. You can Cash App KC2 Trinice and write your address in the Cash App notes, and you will get a special delivery hand-signed book from me.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And listen, I need to get you back on because I think I want to keep doing this on Tuesdays. Definitely want to do this on Tuesday. This Tuesday is, well, every Tuesday of this month is Giving Tuesday. And like I said, We Are Phenomenal Women is doing awesome, great things. We are working on a domestic violence coalition. We also do support groups. We also have domestic violence classes. So if you know anyone who want to take a course, it's a 6-week course, and you also will get a certificate of completion of understanding of domestic violence, because that's what it needs to start at. Understanding what is domestic violence. Domestic violence is not just a physical aspect, it's mental, spiritual, financial, verbal, it's elderly abuse, child abuse. We have all different type of abuses. If anyone would like to be a part of that, please go on wearephenomenalwoman.com. Once again, wearephenomenalwoman.com. I want to say, Tawana, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I definitely want to get you back on again. Queen A, if you still on, I want to thank you, Queen, for coming on as well, being a part of this. I definitely want to bring both my queens. Your stories was very enlightening. I hope and pray it helps someone. I did record, and I will talk to you ladies later if it's okay to share on Facebook, on our site.
Do.
Huh?
Please do.
Yeah,
Okay.
please do.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much for your permission. I do not want to do anything without anyone saying yes. So Queens, y'all have a beautiful night and take your flowers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Peace
Be
and
blessed.
blessings.
Be blessed, darling.
Amen to
Be
that.
blessed.
Peace and blessings. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night.